Hey, this is Ryan from Dakota Angler and Outfitter, and today we're going to be tying a composite loop Marabou steelhead fly. So we're going to start by showing you how to do the dubbing loop. We're going to start with a little bit of orange ice dub and kind of stack it in your fingers so it's all the same length. So you have about maybe 1.5 inches long sitting on your table. Then we're going to take some Sanyo's Predator wrap and only put this on half of the loop or half of the dubbing, and try and stagger it like 60-40 so you have more on one side of the loop than the other. It gives you a little bit better looking fly. You can kind of even that out, and then take the half of the dubbing that you haven't put the Predator wrap on and flip it over the top. Then you can just kind of smash it down with your finger. Perfect, that's ready to go. All right, we're using a Pro Sport Fisher flexi tube to tie this fly on, and 140 denier ultra thread. So start your thread on the thin part of the tube and bring it back to where the junction tubing attaches. Trim off your excess. And now, this is kind of the important part of this fly. We're gonna make a dubbing loop. So make a loop, wrap over the top of it so you have a circle, and then bring your thread over it twice, and then bring your thread back forward. And then we're going to put a little bit of wax on here so our dubbing loop sticks together a little better. And then we're going to take and try and open your loop up a little bit, makes this easier to put in. Take that composite loop we made earlier, put it in your dubbing loop, and slide it up so it's pretty close to your tube. And then if you have any fibers that aren't where you want them, you can take and put your finger behind them and spread them out with your bodkin. Like that. This part of the fly is going to kind of make the Marabou stand up, so it keeps a little bit bigger profile in the water. So attach your dubbing loop spinner, pinch your thread right below your loop, spin your loop spinner, and kind of bring your fingers down. It might take a couple times. I like doing it about halfway, and then taking a bodkin and picking out anything that's trapped. It's looking pretty good. And then do about, so wrap just a little bit more. Grab your bodkin, catch the trapped fibers, and then you can take a dubbing brush, comb it out. You're gonna get quite a bit of extra ice dub out of this, just stuff that didn't get trapped in the dubbing loop. Kind of brush it a couple different directions just to make sure you get all the extra out. Okay, so then you can take and kind of fold it back like you would fold a hackle feather or Marabou fiber. And then start wrapping it right in front of where the junction tubing attaches. And if it's kind of messy to begin with, is okay. We'll take and brush it out once we get it all wrapped on the fly, or on the tube. There we go. And you can tie that off. Perfect. You can trim off the rest of your dubbing loop thread. Perfect. And then make sure you have a couple extra wraps on here just so nothing comes undone. Take your dubbing brush. I like combing it all forward. The idea of this loop is it just is going to make your Marabou stand up bigger, so it kind of keeps a bigger profile in the water. Perfect. That's looking pretty good. So now we're going to take a pink Marabou feather that I've already prepared, tie it in by the tip. And you're kind of shooting for probably, we're going to do 2 different Marabou fibers, so you're probably shooting for 4 wraps a piece. So you can tie that down right in front of where you ended your composite loop, 3 or 4 wraps. Kind of fold all these fibers back. And same thing, if you get any trapped ones, you can take a bodkin when you're done and pick them out. All right, start wrapping that. Looks kind of messy to begin with, but we'll take and pick all those out. So you can tie down that pink marabou feather. Trim off your excess. And take either a bodkin or a comb and you can just pick out all those trapped little fibers. Perfect. If you have any wild ones, you can tie them back down. Now we're going to take an orange marabou feather and do the same thing. And you can do this fly in any number of color schemes, but the pink and orange has been a pretty popular one that seemed to work pretty well for me. Just kind of try and pull out any trapped fibers if you can. Perfect, I can tie that down. Two or three wraps, trim off your excess. Same thing, take your comb and just comb out any trapped marabou fibers in there. And take and clean up the front of your fly a little bit. If you have any real wild ones, you can trim them off. We're going to put a sonic disc on the front of this fly. It'll kind of cover some of that up anyways. So now we'll take about 4 to 5 fibers of Flashabou. And you want these to go maybe just beyond where the marabou is. So kind of measure that out. Double it, because you're going to tie it in the center, so you have 8 fibers total. And I like kind of staggering the ends on it, so it has a little more profile in the water, a little more taper. Tie them down on the top. I like kind of spreading them around the top of the fly, so the whole top half of the fly has a few fibers of flash on it. You can fold these back and kind of fill in the gaps. Perfect. Then you can take a schlappen feather. We're going to do orange on this one. Tie it in right where you finished tying the flash down. And bring your thread forward. This is kind of just to clean up the front of your fly. You can kind of fill in where your thread bump is here. So we'll take our scissors, fold the edge of this fiber, fold the edge of this feather back. We're probably not going to use this whole feather, maybe 3 or 4 wraps. Oops. Tie that down one more time. Oops. And if you have any trap fibers, same thing, just take your bodkin and pick them out. I'm gonna do one more wrap here. All right, and tie your schlappen feather down. And just kind of fold everything back, do 1 or 2 thread wraps to clean it up. And you can either whip finish or half hitch. I like taking my comb one last time, making sure there's no fibers of anything trapped under themselves or other materials. And then we're going to take and put a sonic disc on the front of this fly. So slide it on there. Then we're going to take the whole fly off of the tube needle. We're going to cut just right in front of where that disc comes up to. And then you're going to take a lighter and burn the front of it just to give it a little taper and kind of finish it up and hold that cone on there. Perfect. Sometimes that hole will kind of close up a little bit. So you can take your bodkin and make sure it's open while it's still warm. Perfect, that's it. Pretty simple steelhead fly, winter steelhead fly, but it works really well. It's worth having a box of these in 4, 5, 6 different colors. They're easy to tie and they work really well. Thanks.